What weird flex are you really proud of? Story 1. In the 1980s, there used to be a small ad every week in the back pages of the UK actors magazine The Stage for a guy called David Burglas. It was just his silhouette, his name, his agent's phone number, and the caption, International Man of Mystery. The simple genius of it was so giddying that I felt compelled to steal it when I wrote the program notes for one of the performers in a student comedy show I directed. Another performer in that show was a guy called Neil Malarkey, who went on to form a double act with a young Canadian comedian called Mike Myers. He and Mike both loved that phrase, but neither of them knew where I'd got it from, so Mike just stole it again. Decades later, I got in touch with David Burglas, then age 90, via his son and apologized for nicking it. He got back to say he was delighted to find out how Mike Myers had come by that phrase, and told me I'm forgiven. He's still alive today and nearly 100 years old. Burglas was a truly great magician, a huge star of British TV in the 50s and 60s, and deserves acknowledgement for that brilliant strapline. I'm also sheepishly proud of my part in the chain of theft that led to Austin Powers. Story 2. I bought the 2 first books of A Song of Ice and Fire from a dude in 1999 I met on Usenet. Couldn't find them in a bookstore. He said he had cases of them in his basement, and if I wanted them autographed, it was G.R. Alisham himself, and way before they got popular. Story 3. I'm a hobbyist photographer. Someone used my photo for the background and put an inspirational quote over it. My friend from Berlin, I'm in the U.S., sent me the inspirational quote photo and I recognized my picture. My wife didn't believe me for several weeks. I showed her both side by side. Every leaf and twig was in the exact same position. She finally agreed. I'm still not sure she believes me. It's just such a great coincidence. Story 4. When I was in law school, I prepped a course outline for first-year property law that was really good. I shared it with one person and asked him not to share. About a week later, I started hearing about this awesome outline everyone had and how well it was written and covered all the necessary material. Ask around and finally get my hands on it. It was my fucking outline. Called my buddy out on it, and he tried to say he didn't share it. He folded when I told him he was the only person I shared it with. In his defense, it was a damn good outline. I ended up getting the highest score in that class that the professor ever gave. My outline got in his hands, and he made it an official part of his course syllabus. 20 years later, I specialize in real property law and still stay in touch with that professor, Dr. Jerry Beyer at Texas Tech Law School. Best damn law school professor I ever had. Story 5. I bought the 2 first books of A Song of Ice and Fire from a dude in 1999 I met on Usenet. Couldn't find them in a bookstore. He said he had cases of them in his basement, and if I wanted them autographed, it was GRRM himself. And way before they got popular. Story 6. I've donated over 2 gallons of blood. I have O negative and CMV negative blood, so my blood is used in emergencies involving newborn babies. Story 7. I have an uncanny knack for remembering people, even people that I see very briefly. For example, I once saw a guy on the escalator in Toronto and I said, "Hey, when you moved here from Vienna," he was flabbergasted. I had walked past him on the street once while visiting there, and 5 years later I recognized him. Story 8. Right now I hold the record at my local barcade for Street Fighter 2. 1,010,000. I also get free beer because of it. It all happened because I was going back and forth with this guy that I haven't met yet, who can get a high score on their board. He held the record at 762,000, and then I beat it with 788,000. He's been trying to beat it ever since I posted that score. And the closest he got was 770,000. When I saw that score posted on the game itself, I had about 6 beers in me, and I walked over there and dropped the million by getting perfect on most of the bosses and a handful of perfects on the regular players. He's never going to touch that shit now. Story 9. I built and installed a bookshelf doorway with a hidden door handle myself. It leads into a room dedicated only to Dungeons & Dragons. Childhood dream achieved. Story 10. John Cena follows me. I have no idea why either. Story 11. I have a sock drawer that's 72 of the same exact sock. I never have to fold them or dig around to make a matching pair. This is actually the best life pro tip. Every couple years, I'll do a sock purge and throw away or donate 100% of my socks. You can donate to humane societies sometimes if they need socks for various reasons. I then buy like 48 pairs of the same socks. Over time, you get gifted socks for Christmas or buy a random pack for some reason, and your uniformity gets diluted. Hence the purge every couple years. Also black socks. They never get dirty. The longer you wear them, the stronger they get. Sometimes, I think I should wash them, but something inside me keeps saying, not yet, not yet, not yet. Story 12. I got a pity pat from Obama. This was ages ago when he was still just a senator from Illinois. I got a job at a local radio station as a reporter for news in the area. Obama was speaking at a community college in our area, and I was told to listen to his address and ask relevant questions afterwards. I had never done that before, or since, and I barely listened, and at the end he met with the press, which was me and a local newspaper guy. After he finished with the other guy, he looked at me and said, "What can I do for you?" My mind went totally blank, and I just stood there staring at him. This went on for a little too long, and eventually he reaches out a hand, pats me gently on the shoulder, and goes, "It's okay," and then walked off. Lowell, story 13. I have died 5 times due to allergic reactions. No breathing, no heartbeat, unresponsive. Always been brought back. The longest I was gone was roughly 3-4 minutes. Story 14, 5, 3 male, and my GF is 5'7". Is your face directly at chest level? And not directly, but close enough for regular appreciation. Bro, living the dream. May your relationship blossom further. Story 15. I can write with either hand. Not such an impressive skill. But when my colleague remarked that my handwriting is beautiful despite using my dominant right hand to also type at the same time, it made me blush. It was indeed a very beautiful and calligraphic handwriting. Story 16. Went to Venice for 4 days. Bought a 7-day public transport pass because they only had 1, 3, or 7-day passes. Prices for 3 + 1 days and a 7-day pass are the same. At the end of the trip, before leaving for the airport, I stood at the central station and sold the remaining days at half price to a couple who were starting their vacation in Venice. Both of us ended up saving money. Well, I sold it for less than half the price of what it would have cost the couple to buy new tickets for 3 days. I only got back like a day's money back, and no, I would not give it away for free because I would not accept a ticket for free. If someone gave it to me, I would pay something. And also they were prepared to pay the original amount. And I would rather give away free stuff to the homeless, which I've done numerous times before, instead of giving it away to someone who can clearly afford it. And they were extremely happy at the end of it to save more than €50, but to each their own. Story 17, I stole a grand theft amount of money from my mom's husband in order to escape abuse. Food on, I have been waiting to feel this validated since she married that ass when I was 13. Please continue the Don hate. Story 18, it's weird. I can wear children's shoes because my feet are so small. While that seems odd, I'm proud because as an adult, I can buy those Ninja Turtle shoes my mom so disappointingly never let me get because I'm a lady. Suck it, Massachusetts. Story 19. When I was a little kid, multiple doctors said I would never be able to speak and that I would need assisted living for the rest of my life. Now I'm 16 and capable of taking care of myself, and I'm able to speak perfectly fine other than a slight stutter when I get really anxious. Story 28. My friend and I got stopped by the police as 16-years because they'd set up a speed trap on a hill, and they'd caught us doing 44 km/h down the hill on bikes in a 30 zone. They didn't give us any repercussions, just had a long chat with us about safety. I can't say we didn't need it. We still joke about that Vauxhall Corsa flashing its lights behind us, asking us to pull over, haha. Last year in 6th form, my friend and I, Rick, rolled the whole school end-of-year assembly with a memory stick plugged into the stage sound desk. When I was helping set up the mics for the drama students a few months prior, I'd noticed it was the same sound desk as the one my dad uses, meaning I knew it had a built-in delay function and the ability to load audio files from a USB stick. We snuck up half an hour before the assembly and planted the stick in the back set to trigger in 32 minutes. It was the best prank we ever pulled, didn't even get found out. Planning on claiming responsibility once we finish with exams this year. Story 29. When I was 5, we were at the fair, and this famous, in our town anyway, caricature artist told my mom he could not draw me. He stared at me sitting there for like 15 minutes before he told her he couldn't draw me. He said in 30 years of drawing people, he's only met 4 he couldn't draw. I was the 4th. He said some very rare people have such a unique and different presence vibe that he just can't peg them down to draw them. My mom asked if it was my age, and he said, nope. He does kids' parties all the time. Story 30. In Amsterdam, I had some goods left over while there on holiday. I walked around for half an hour looking for the right person. Just walked up to them and just said, hey mate, I've got a plane in a few hours. Here you go. And handed over what I had left, which wasn't a little. He couldn't believe his eyes. I did it because it had happened to me 2 days prior while camping on the outskirts of Amsterdam at Camping Zeeburg. A Russian man who was camped nearby gave me his leftovers before leaving. And the moral of the story is to pass it on. Story 31. I can wake up without an alarm clock unless I am horribly drunk the night before. Even then, sometimes it works. All I do is tell myself when I have to wake up, and just like that, my eyes open 5-7 minutes before. I've assumed the role of an alarm for a friend/roommate lot of times for this reason, and I'm absolutely fucking proud of it. P.S. I'm also a super light sleeper.